Friends and family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. This is Major News Network on all on and two televisions, also your apps on your Apple and Google phones. It seems like we're going into some sort of war. I'm glad we voted for peace. I think that meant a piece of American pie that they're going to give to someone else, perhaps another country. And those crumbs are for you and me. Iran is not Venezuela. We got China, Russia, North Korea activating forces, and Russia gave these guys 25,000 aircraft carrier missiles that can all go about 3,000 miles. Also, Putin, he destroyed all of Zelensky's long-range missiles today. He's on top of it, so let's make no doubt about that. We also had 4,300 Russians, citizens, that were evacuated from Cuba today. My speculation is he's doing that because he's putting this discombobulator himself there. We'll get into that a little bit later. But we are also evacuating our bases, and we're lying about it. We're saying that, we're moving our troops because we want to. No. We have the intel that Putin and Xi Jinping has given the Ayatollah the equipment that we cannot defend ourselves against. So cut all the malarkey. That's the truth. And also, Hamas is a Benjamin Netanyahu tool. It is a word used by Israel. It has nothing to do with Muslims or Arabs. It's as phony as it can be. However, Hezbollah, that means in God's way in Islam. Yashuri Hadamutakhayedmahu. Well, I'll say Salah. Peace be to everybody out there. We're going to be going to war, and it has nothing to do with us. If I had to choose between the Ayatollah Khomeini and Benjamin Netanyahu, I think for a long time we would have chose Ben. But if I had my choice to pick between the both of them today, well, it would definitely be Vladimir Putin, 100%. And I'd say you two cousins need to go into the corner and fight your little squabble without me. Uncle Sam is out of here. So we are evacuating bases, and the main reason is because we have a friend, and his name is Netanyahu, and he bombed Lebanon today, and he just doesn't stop creating terror. I'd like to ask you, who is the bigger terrorist, him or the Ayatollah? I hear that Ayatollah talking a lot, but to me he sounds like Foghorn Leghorn, that chicken. Well, I say, boy. Just trying to, seem scary. But the scary stuff is coming from us. Today he activated and asked the Muslim world to activate Hezbollah in God's way. King of Saudi, MBS, they agreed. This is another reason why we are getting kicked out of war bases, because blood is thicker than water. And this jihad could spread to America, and our politicians are sleeping in the deep, and they need to give everybody in Britain, everybody in Ireland back their guns. You look funny waving your flags. You need to pick up your arms, and you need to remove the cancers that are taking over our countries and land. It's not our way of life. And now we're having silly debates on over sexuality when the enemy is literally crushing our door down, stealing our homes, taking our identity away from us, while we pander at one another, and then give rights to the weakest and the mentally ill. And we need to address the fact that there are just people that are mentally ill. And don't go down the rabbit hole with them, just understand that's what's going on. Remember that Iran is not Venezuela. And I could go on and on with simple truths, but we have China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and all of the Arab allies now have formed an alliance. All of our top gear that we sold to Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey will be used against us. United States Navy, Army, be aware of that. You see, I always thought it was a bad idea. I always thought NATO sucked, the EU sucks, and stop selling our munitions and our best gear to people that could be enemies and people that have different faiths and different customs than we do. Why do you think I always stand on the side of Putin? Well, because at least it's normal. And that's all I want to talk about. what's normal and what's not. You see, we can get along with Russians a lot better than everybody in the Middle East. That's a fact, Jack. Iran is not Venezuela. We have now China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and all of the Arab allies. And I know that Putin would rather be on our side. And if we flipped that script in the name of Christ, just say, hey, let's Christians get over here and the sons of Abraham, the Muslims and the Jews, you guys just can't get along. And I thought our founding fathers wrote a clause after we did the Constitution so we wouldn't have to listen to your malarkey. And it was that Congress shall establish no law regarding a religion. That means also by you bringing them over here by the masses, you're establishing that. That also means that every dollar you fund to that, you're establishing it. If we pay Benjamin Netanyahu, we're establishing Zionism, Judaism. If we fund the other side, we're funding Islam. And that should give us the excuse not to fund anybody. And we need to understand that bribery and lobbying are the same animal. We need to get rid of every bribery, every lobbying agenda in Washington, D.C. By the way, I'll be in Washington, D.C. all day today and tomorrow and at the White House, and we'll be trying to ask some great questions, and we'll be covering the State of the Union, just so you know. And the thing that I want you to know is we are getting kicked out of the Arab nations, and it's because they know who owns us. And you know who owns us too, don't you? Yeah. We know who owns us. We know who owns our president. We know this mall strip that they want to build so badly that we couldn't give a rat's ass about. So, President Trump, I'd like to remind you as a citizen that's done my research and also with the military as they've advised you, under AI war scenarios 125 times on this scenario, we lose every time. America, I want you to remember the Chinese has a fractional orbit bombardment system. This is an bombardment system that's already in outer space. The nukes are in the sky. Go ahead and look it up. I've had this and I showed you the Claw satellite, the ways in which they have literally artillery they're moving on. Their first game plan will be to hit our satellites out. We'll be blind. Most of you kids can't even get around without your GPS or your smartphones. And you'll have to look for old farts just because somehow they know how to read a map and get around. Well, that's one. And also with all these UFOs, they're laughing at us because that triangle happens to be China's. Yeah, we had the Astra, TR-3B Astra, the floating triangle, but since the days of Obama, believe it or not, other countries have perfected it. Yeah, they have one that goes Mach 10, and but do they care about us, America? Because here's the other thing that was just made legal across America. Glycophosphate Roundup for everybody. I can't eat American pasta. I don't know about you. I used to eat cereal. Kind of makes me ill, or bread. And now we know why. The common denominators that are just our food is just over-toxified with Roundup, Grazon, atrazine. The atrazine's been feminizing the American male population. And tell me China doesn't know about it. You see, if we feminize all their men, we take out their military, who's going to fight? Well, you might be right. Dallas, Texas, they have a water system, Lake Louisville, loaded full of estrogen, loaded full of atrazine, and nobody's going to really care to fight in Texas, but 50 years ago, that wasn't the case. The answer, and there is an answer, we got to make that illegal. We got to make chemtrails illegal. We need to give citizens the right to shoot those fuckers out of the sky when they're doing that to us, and I am not kidding you. You think we're fooled? We're not. We got all these snow tests back. I've posted them all up and down the page of all the compounds that are in our atmosphere coming down, and there is a war. There's an aerosol war that they're using against us. They're affecting our water. It's landing into the ground, hitting our water system, going into our local aqueducts, and we're drinking it, and it's changing us, and it's making us placasent where we just take what we can. And I see it, and it has to end. So yeah, we have a war, and we have a war on chemical toxicity, on chemtrails, on air, And even this Venezuela thing that we were supposed to be doing. And what if I told you what blew me away was the fact that, excuse me, I'm trying to get something established here for us. But it's just having a difficult time, I guess. All right. But so they keep us concentrated with glycophosphate and chemtrails, and they can't even hit a Chinese balloon, a spy balloon out of the sky. All they did was censor us. I think China and Russia knew while we had Biden and Obama in office. And Trump was an egomaniac for 4 years. He didn't pay attention. So they had 12 years to get together. And if Trump was in office, he wouldn't be taking it so serious. But now I'm glad you are, sir. But now you know we're 15 years behind. And we have been owned. You can't tell anybody in America that 9/11 was an insurance job for Silverstein. You can't tell us why Building 7 fell down, because we know that it was all demolition. But that's okay, because it took a couple $1 trillion away from our debt as we hit $38 trillion in debt. Why on God's green planet are you not accepting President Putin's $12 trillion to buy the Ukraine? I'm humbly asking that you sell it. You see, the Ukraine is a 30-year-old failed experiment. And I'm going to say that after killing everybody, after us using it as a bioweapons laboratory, after us using it as a chess piece to threaten Russia. We don't deserve to have it. So let's take Putin's $12 trillion. Let's use that to end the banking system relationship between us and Israel. Let's crush AIPAC. Let's throw media journalists in jail that are spouting off George Soros. Let's throw George Soros in jail and everybody like that is funding a media war against America. And that's why you're listening to me, because everybody else is giving you the exact same thing that they just think of, which has nothing to do with freedom. We're just getting Operation Smokescreen. We got a smokescreen going on in Mexico. Did you know Scheinbaum, their Jewish female president, has been accused of being in the cartel, and that the cartel's relationship with Israel is the fact that Israel sold the cartel 25,000 high-end rifles and over 5,000 grenade things and launchers. Israel. So how did Israel, if Israel is funding the cartel, then aren't they guilty? Now, where did this money come from? And so they're manufacturing arms and selling it to the cartel. How is Israel our ally? And now I told you, Mexico, you have a female Jewish president. This will be the time that you do fall. You see, I think that Israel gave you a president and a fully funded militarized cartel so that they could break you down. And after you get broken down thoroughly, they can come in and pick up the dust. Much like that's happening in America. Just look at Malibu. It's sitting there. Same thing with Maui. It's because Hollywood moved out. They went to Israel. And they're not going to be back. And when they're back, everything will be cheaper to pick up because everything will be ashes. And I would like to know, let's have a poll down here between us. Who's the bigger terrorist? Netanyahu or the Ayatollah? You know, this October 7th stuff, I want you to know it's a big lie. And the reason why we know it's a lie is because we have evidence of the Israeli government through Netanyahu funding what he calls Hamas, twice as heavy the 2 months prior existing to October 7th. If you don't know that, these are facts. We have this trail. It's out there. It gets suppressed and buried. They're monsters. We also have evidence that, it sounded so hard to say, that they're eating children. These same Zionists. And the Obamas got into this as the word out. Now this is it's so twisted I can't even believe I'm saying it. So Tafari Campbell, their chef, there's new evidence out that he was killed because the Obamas wanted him to cook children. And he was going to blow up that story, not just the fact that she's transgender and that the kids weren't theirs. It's the fact that he was being ordered to cook children. Now this is something you can find out there. And also what's playing behind me, just so you see, is Mexico is on fire. and it's on fire right now, and the cartels have taken over, and it's looking bad. Now, in America, we have the same issue, and the media is fueling this. What we're seeing here are kids, Iranian kids, setting the United States flag on fire. You do that in front of me, you just might meet your maker, son. And anybody that does that, you deserve to get your ass deported on the spot. And if a veteran takes you out, so be it. You're a piece of trash and get out of my country. You don't want to be here. Take the video of that kid's face, use AI, and kick that bastard out. That's all I'm going to say. And that would be the nicest thing that we could do. Now, why are we doing all this, and what is the culprit? What is the cause? Do you even know? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's going to blow your world. It's called the Greater Israel, and this secret map was actually released. And this is what they're in a spin about. They're not going to stop. So as we get Greenland, as we get Venezuela, as we're eyeballing Cuba, as my Huckabee turned into the biggest sellout crackpot I've ever heard in my life, eat a bag of camels. Thank you, Tucker Carlson, for defending Americans. Thank you for defending children and asking the right questions so that we could see how ridiculous this old stooge is, because I used to believe in him. As somebody that is has a doctorate in divinity and is a Christian preacher, a Bible preacher, his biblical knowledge is about a retard zero. That's me bringing you some, Senator Kennedy humor to you, but what a total joke. There is nowhere in here that God's giving people land based off the stuff, and a promise to Abraham is also a promise then to his two children, Ishmael and his other child, that was the father of Israel. So those are the two guys squabbling, so understand, and then they can't duke it out. Now look at this map. This is all of here from Syria to Kuwait, so they have a port, all the way to here, barely missing Baghdad, but they're going to take Baghdad too, because everybody has a tattoo on their arm in the IDF, and it shows clearly that they're taking over Baghdad too. This is the new map of the greater expansion of Israel, and this is why we are sending our troops. This is why our troops might die. This is why Venezuela has happened. This is why the confrontation's going, and we don't need to back it. This has nothing to do with us. This is silly. I want to remind everybody that Persia, Iran's the oldest country in the world, and we're like 250 years old. And they're squabbling. You can read about it all the way into the book of Esther. And I'll remind everybody that King Nebuchadnezzar, when he got with Esther, Darius, you could say, depending on which version you read, that he was compassionate because he saw the beauty in his wife. And through Mordecai's information, he freed all the Jews that were about to be murdered under his kingdom, and he saved them all. 303 of those Jews were so afraid from this experience in Babylon that they migrated up into Russia. Now, this is 2,800 years ago. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because then they integrated with Russians and Slavics, and those are the, how do I say it? Those are your Ashkenazi Jews. And so when Jesus was around, when all of the stuff creating the Bible was around, they literally were not there. And they were Europeans, and then migrated over into Poland, into Germany, into the Ukraine. And I guess now, just because they have that lineage, it's their right to kick out the people that are actually related to them that are more Jewish and actually Semitic people. So we have lost the definition of the word, but we are backing racism. And Tucker Carlson, I guess he's losing his appeal by doing it. And if I lose my appeal to you, we'll eat a bag of Richards and kiss my ass. I don't care. I am trying to save people's lives, and I want to expose the truth. And I am not a sellout like Huckabee is. And how could you sell something out and just, this guy actually talked about, but they're arming 8-year-old children. They should be killed. Really? And you think that that's got some credibility to it? You make me sick, dude. Maybe people do get too old, and maybe they do lose their way. Because when you lose your compassion, you definitely lose your way. Because Jesus and God and all these faiths, they tell us to love each other, not to hate, not to judge, just get along. And they're doing everything out there but getting along. And I want you to know that, okay? Now, I brought up that story about, there's the greater Israel right there, and that's just the first phony little bit that they're going to give you. What you're hearing and seeing behind me is the news that I've received on the fact that the Obama chef was murdered because they were asking him to cook children. And so there you go, and Epstein files reveal this, and that the chef was murdered because of this. And again, I can't even say that I believe I'm saying it. At the same time, while we have 73 people that died in Mexico, we had 4,300 people pulled out, evacuated out of Cuba today. We are on the verge of something very major. And again, I have advised the White House on the YJ-21, the new missile system coming from the air and at the sea. And I think that if we keep this up, we'll be losing 2 aircraft carriers and 2 strike groups, because Iran is not Venezuela. Because we're going to be fighting our best equipment. You hear me out, America. We're fighting our own best equipment from Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt. And then we're fighting China's equipment and their best equipment with Russia's equipment. Because we're so stupid, we sold all of our stuff to people that actually have a different fundamental value and faith than we do. And some faiths have not evolved past the separation of church and state. CENTCOM will be blind. This is something else that's going to blow your meat. And I don't mean just child meat. But we have some interesting stuff that is just, it's on another level. Iran invented this device. Cost them about $400. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because all the Iranian sleeper cells in America know about this. They can build this device for $400, and it takes out about, 25 square miles of airspace. Leaves our planes completely blind. And we don't even have something to prepare to defend ourselves from this new device that came up. And they've activated it. And then also, Russia, as they evacuate Cuba, Russia puts a doomsday jammer in Iran. So I'm going to say they put a doomsday jammer in Cuba as well. A doomsday jammer. Now, this jammer could be like our discombobulator, but keep in mind they moved all of their citizens out of Cuba. And we know now that U.S. CENTCOM is blind in various areas over Italy, over Saudi, over Iraq, and even over Israel. This scares us because somehow we don't have radar. Our F-35 is literally not working, which is why we had to move the old gear in, because the computer systems are not messed up. You see, you get too computerized, it's not that good. And as soon as these GPS systems are down, those birds are grounded. They won't even be able to fly. What are you going to do? Call a whole bunch of old farts like me to get it done? Probably, you pansy asses. You'll be activated men from Vietnam because they've got the biggest balls in the room next to the World War II guys. Putin moves 2,500 high-power aircraft killer missiles into Iran, 400 surface-to-air, air-to-air combat missiles. I am not talking about the other payload from China. And don't forget about what Saudi and MBS has, and it's our own gear that we'll be fighting too. If you ask me, we ought to do what Obama's dad should have done. We need to pull out and pull out now. Because if not, it's going to create a bad situation and a Manchurian candidate, so just flush the toilet. Mexico is on fire from cartels, but just be safe and aware that your female president from Israel is going to make a nice deal as you set yourself on a blaze. And is there peace that's going to happen? Well, hell no, because Putin bombed Lebanon again today. This is how he's activating Hezbollah. He's literally scratching the ant pile, never allowing a chance for peace ever. Venezuela, Cuba, and Mexico, you're all now owned by the CIA and the Mossad. That's okay, so are we, so we know how it feels. Venezuela oil, I know this, and the reason why I know this is because I tried to move the oil up to Texas, but you couldn't move it quick enough to Israel or to Italy or to Australia. Just leave us last, son. Just send us the bill. U.S. Gerald Ford's having a sewage system crisis. They want to go back home. They're so woke. Well, let me tell you the answer, kids. Speaking to an old sailor here. It's called a 5-gallon bucket and throwing it overboard. That'll end your problem in a day. As far as your showers, get in your skivvies, do it on the deck. That's done. Move on. You're at war. You ain't turning that aircraft carrier around because your janitor sucks. It's time to get dirty. Have that get you mad. I know that there's bad things happening, but you need to fire the janitor and fix the ship because you got work to do, and we're all there with you. My job is to tell the administration beforehand that we are FUBAR, that they have new equipment and new gear, and we'd like to go home because this war is all for Israel, not for us, and we know it. And we voted for peace. I voted for you, and you're not doing at all what we wanted you to do or what you asked to do or what you said you're going to do. This is not saving America. This is making America look bad. This is starting World War III. This is not peace. This is funding genocide, and this is obviously being purchased and denouncing your faith in Christ, just like your daughter. And it's obvious to us now. Zelensky now threatens Alexander Lukashenko. Or I could say the Ukraine now threatens Belarus. So we never stop with our puppets and our wars. And we have to keep on protecting our pedophiles. I can't even tell you what I know. It's honestly that sick. I know so much more, and I can't even get into it. Because literally it would topple the entire system. We are a nation run by Baal worshipers, child predators, cannibals, and just every disgusting thing you could think of. And that's the truth. So some people are like, why are you not all happy on the news today? It's like, it's not good news. We're going into World War III right now. And we have a particular group of people that own us. And it's so obvious. And the time is not the right time. We are depleted. We are hurt. And as we are doing that, Russia releases sea drones. NATO is under pressure. But I could go on, but here's another news flash. Russia releases its largest battleship out on the field today. Its largest warship, new class of vessel. So as they're releasing their largest warships, one after another, so is China, 5 a year. Our Arleigh Burke class ships are 50 years old. I want you to know that. Yeah, our F-16s were really great 50 years ago. I want you to know that. We're about a half a century behind. That's just a fact. Sea drones from Russia. Now, what you're seeing behind me is their largest ship when they redid it, but they totally rechanged this thing, made it brand new, made it faster. And, of course, there's Kinzhal in it. There's nuclear material in it. There's enough missiles to completely take out 2 strike groups. So with China's brand new warship, battleship, and that's 3 strike groups right there that are out. These are facts you need to hold on to, not the BS that Megyn Kelly and ABC, NBC, and CBS are trying to tell you about how Trump's in the Epstein files and all this other type stuff. It's all a bunch of jargon. The truth is we're going to war. The truth is they do own us. The truth is that you are the Goyim, and get used to it. Because Russia, they refuse to be the Goyim. So because of that, that's our only chance. Is if we can kick out the cancer that owns us. So this is their 080, their revived old battleship. And there is news out that Putin would rather be on our side. He sees so much more for us. He knows that this is because we're run by pedophiles and Baal worshipers and phony Jews, the synagogue of Satan. These are his words as well. And he doesn't want to see them get the greater Israel And I thought that he was hoping that they would see some alliance. I will be talking about drill, baby, drill, and of course, increasing the oil and gas operations in the United States. I'll also be talking about shipping into Venezuela, but they're operating very slowly. They're not operating for us. It's depressing. Mexico, Venezuela, the United States. We're all owned by you know who. How does it feel? How do your streets look? Iran prepares 800,000 people for war today. Has it affected us in Malibu? Were there any strange fires in Malibu and Afghanistan? What about Malibu, Santa Monica, Venice, Los Angeles? Is it looking normal or like a ghost town so that another population could come in? I'm seeing the population replacement theory literally happen in front of my eyes. So you know that stuff is going to get like really serious, and I want you to know that when the Army starts talking and the politicians start talking about UFOs, and they're starting to talk about UFOs, and it's always been known that this